caroling is not is all bigged up on to be, you know? It's pretty terrible. If I were to be honest with you, I mean, you do stand out under the cold and sing hoping that people will give a shilling or at least a crust of bread. Maybe just a crust of bread, more often than not then however. You'll end up just being with the door slammed in your face. Some people can really be mean and send rabid dogs to chase you down the streets. It's out of control, I'll tell ya. I'll tell you one thing that is just a good job that Christmas only happens once a year. Now, I only started working as a caroler in order to buy a Nintendo Switch. Nintendo Switches may not be as expensive where you're from, but from where I am, they cost around $100 million. Bloody ridiculous, right? Are those idiots in Nintendo or really getting their lessons from Mr. Krabs or something? Sadly, I've barely made a profit on my job. As a caroler, I only get paid for my only service once. Yes, only service. The old lady who paid me had no toes, and she owned like 25 cats, who made her life quite miserable. Unfortunately, my money was quickly stolen from me as I was mugged by a local mob bosses, says Honest John and Gideon. Honest John and Gideon act as quote-unquote owners of the town I live in. They deedest this Christmas caroling, and of course they are the most best to get the Prime Minister Boris Johnson to place a ban on caroling. Thankfully, Mr. Johnson is too busy riding his motorcycle in the desert streets to pay any attention to Honest John and Gideon's plight. A lot of people may have given up caroling and singing the whole thing thanks to the pair's antics. Whenever I actually made a decent profit of my singing for those two asses who always take it away from me. Now Gideon is not a bad but Honest John, he's the biggest scumbag in the world. He also likes to eat loads of apples, kind of like how Mr. Parks, so that's how you know he is an arsehole. But also, sometimes they might throw water balloons while I attempt to sing away in a major Colonel Dodo. Along with Honest John and Gideon, one of the other factors why you shouldn't do caroling is the customers. You think that door-to-door salespeople have it fit rough though? Well, oh boy, you haven't seen nothing yet. One time I sang Little Donkey to do some dopey dog. After I was done singing the caroling, the doopy dog proclaimed, "You have to meet my old boy Maxie." Huh? I was asked and was dragged inside the house by the doopy dog. I tried my best to run out of the house but only to get pulled back by the doopy dog who had managed to catch me in his fishing rod. I then forced him to eat rotten fish soup with the dog with his son. It was bloody terrible. The fish was already rotten and it was already moving. Sounds really lovely, doesn't it? Another really bad experience I had with caroling is when I met my good friend Harris, who was chased me down the streets by the mayor's dogs. The mayor was on Honest John and Gideon's payroll. Like them, the mayor had also sowed deceits on caroling and is planning to manipulating Boris Johnson into banning controlling for good. For shame, the mayor also hates me because I often get food from his head chief, Big Boy Boyce. Big Boy Boyce always cooks too much food for the mayor and his associates, as so much so that the tons of food have been left out ever. Despite this, Boyce only ever gives me one chicken leg, even though there was an entire banquet left over. Ah, Merry Christmas from this lordship to the mayor, Boyce would proclaim as he threw me the chicken leg. The chicken leg would only be eaten by a smelly dog named Chili Charlie. That just adds to insult on the injury, doesn't it, pal? I can tell you, pal, again, right? Sorry for the massive tangent, but now I just wanted to truly embrace the struggles of being a Christmas caroler to you and your snuck-up friends. Now, for the incident with the mayor's dogs, Harris refused to go caroling with me anymore. I was also asked my friend Brenton to accompany me. Brenton agreed happily, and he never had gone caroling before. I also didn't bother to tell Brenton about the dangers of caroling. Why? Well, because, quite frankly, I just wanted to see him suffer. Also, Brenton is super religious and works as a bishop at the local church. I don't know why, but I feel like inclined to tell you that. I guess I do, I guess. Brenton, however, turned out to be a good luck charm of sorts, as we were both able to earn loads of breadcrumbs from the people we sang to. Even the miserable lady who has no toes gave us some crust. If we got any more crust, we've had enough to make a full loaf of bread. Along the way, there were some people that were incredibly fat charity collector, and his lesser was still ill fat friend. I just wanted to buy the poor boys some meat, pour some meat and drinks, and with the means of warmth. What you might be put down to ask for? The collector asked, as he pulled out a black notepad. Nothing, I said, as the collector said. You wish to remain a hippopotamus? I wish to be left alone, I cried angrily as I pushed the collector out of the way. He looked at me really shocked, and his friend, meanwhile, he just looked smelly. The friend then didn't speak either because likely he knew the disagreeing with me on his friend's motives that would really lead him to getting eaten. How pathetic. Anyways, after that scuffle between the two charity collectors, we eventually reached the mayor's house, which lies in the very front of the town. I tried my best to spum Brenton away from the mayor when we were having absolutely none of it. Come on, George, it's easy, Brenton cried happily as he began mocking the door. It was the mayor himself who answered the door, and he didn't look that happy to see me again. What are you doing back over here, boyo? I told you to never come back here, the mayor barked in his gruff voice as Brenton sang, Well, we've been east and west, and now we're back again. The mayor lit himself a cigar and said, Well, I'll tell you something, boyo, and your friend here has some balls. He then continued with, Well, if my lovely pets aren't enough for you to get to stay away, maybe this. The mayor then pulled out a DVD from his pants, and he handed the DVD to Brenton before shutting the door tight behind him. What is it? I asked Brenton as he handed me the DVD. It's the Muppets, Brenton proclaimed happily, some kind of Spiral the Dragon. Brenton wasn't lying. I looked at the DVD cover. It was Muppet Christmas Carol. I was overjoyed as it was my favorite Christmas movie ever made. Now, I would give you a plot summary, but I'm lazy, so type it on Google and then look it up on the Wikipedia. The cover was normal, but the back, it looked like the regular DVD did. Little to know that I was wrong. Suddenly, the door to the mayor opened again, and the mayor appeared on the scene. Can you two go away already? The mayor asked as I responded with, Mayor, we just like to... I was really cut off by the mayor who yelled, Boyce released me this bee bear. It not the bee bear, I cried in despair before continuing with, But it's Christmas. Christmas is bah humbug if you ask me. The mayor then laughed evilly as he slammed the door shut. That is when the bee bear hybrid appear from behind us. I'm a bee bear, and you can tell me to zap me, cause you know I love your honey. The hybrid sang as he chased away from its home. Arriving back in my house, I slammed the door shut and barricaded it so that way the hybrid wouldn't get in. The hybrid was a little nasty little thing which sang in a horrible gruff. Thankfully, the hybrid was eventually tired of slamming the door and decided to go away back to the mayor's house. I told Brenton to set the DVD up while I made us some cups of hot chocolate in the kitchen. I also should mention that my house is very lopsided and was located on the very outskirts of my town. In fact, my house was so lopsided that you could constantly feel that you're falling. So I was making the hot chocolates. Brenton, meanwhile, bust himself away and put the disc into my Xbox 360 because I don't own a DVD player yet. Well, crap. I came back into the living room holding the drinks, and Brenton and I sat down on the sofa next to each other as we both turned off our attention towards the TV. However, nothing happened. At first I thought the DVD was broken, and then the mayor had given us a broken DVD as a joke. Thankfully, it started with the no commercials or even a main menu. Not only that I was minded right away, but I could get straight right into the film. The film started off weirdly. Instead of Kermit's face appearing on the screen, it was Rap Rat. Busted, Rap Rat yelled in his wickedly wicked voice as the movie then cuts to the green opening of the film. The music just wasn't right. It sounded like a very bad done, like if it was done by a cat or something. There was also no snow whatsoever, and it was raining, and the Muppets' names were listed on the opening credits. The film then eventually opens and shows Gonzo and Rizzo attempting to sell apples as normal. Gonzo then decided that he would tell Rizzo the story about the Christmas Carol by pretending that it was Charles Dickens. Seems to be going back to normal when, of course, Ebenezer Scrooge showed up on the scene. It wasn't Michael Caine playing as Scrooge. No, my friends, it was none other than Big Shaq. Yo, Big Shaq, ding and ding, the Big Shaq said as he made his way down to the streets of London and Scrooge and Marley's. Arriving at Scrooge and Marley's, Scrooge or Big Shaq was who I was continue to refer to him as for now, visited by his nephew Fred, who is then now replaced by Freddy Krueger. Krueger began slashing and killing a bunch of the bookmakers, except for Kermit, of course. Nice to hear ya from Mil Carlos, Freddy proclaimed as he was gutting one of the bookmarkers. That's when Dr. Bunsen, Honeydew, and Beaker came into the scene to ask Shock for some money. Now the Beaker was more like was normal, but Honeydew was now a pea. He was actual green pea if you have eaten this with your fish and chips. There were no prisons or workhouse, Shock asked as if it was normal. Suddenly Beaker's neck began to conjugate and rose high up into the sky. I then asked Brenton to turn off the film, but he refused. Why should we stop watching? Brenton asked. Well, it's not right. That mayor probably given us the doggy copy. Why would he do that? Brenton asked, as I responded with, so he can scare us into giving up caroling for good, like he did with Harris. At that moment, Harris walked in, but was so disgusted by Beaker's giraffe neck that ended up dying in the spot. Poor old Harris. I sipped my hot chocolate, and as the film cut to the part where Shock then arrives at the house. However, Jacob Marley's face doesn't appear as a door knocker, and then such as Gonzo didn't pass out from Marley's screaming. Big Shock then made his way upstairs, not carrying about a button of the darkness. Ha, Shock said as then he sat down with his recording studio. He had been rapping. 2 + 2 is 4 - 1, so that's 3 quick maths. I began groaning into my Mickey Mouse mug as the Marley brothers appeared on the scene. Why did you come of me? Why did you come of me? Shock asked as the Marley brothers said, me don't know. The screen then did an awkward cut to Shock going back into bed, but of course he ended up waking up 2 seconds later. The ghost of the Muppet of the Christmas past appeared on the scene. It was not a ghost from the original, however. It was Shock's girlfriend, who looked like a pickled onion. Shock's girlfriend, who I'll call her Pickled from now on, took Shock to the past. Oddly, Gonzo and Rizzo were not accompanying them. Instead, they were accompanied by Beaker and his disgusting giraffe neck of all people. Arriving in the past, Big Shock and Pickled made their way towards the California hotel. Arriving at the hotel, the pair then proceeded to make their way towards the swimming pool where MT Team Bar once son lounged on so many moons ago. Even no longer it seems so sad anyways. Shock and Pickled Onion then saw Shaw's pass of himself being asked by Pickle to take off his damn coat. Babe, that's hot, Shock proclaimed as his protest passed Pickled as well as the present day. Pickle then pulled off a disgusting face which smelt of pickled onions. The smell was so bad you could actually smell it throughout the television. I pulled out Brenton's bartender off his head and began vomiting violently into the screen, which of course changed to Big Shock and Pickled, arriving at Fozzie Wigg's Christmas party. The party was normal for the most part until Fozzie Wigg's undercoat lover accidentally fell into a huge bathtub of wine. Well, that's well done. Fozzie laughed. Also, Fozzie's voice was incredibly gruff sounding. It sounded like someone who had been smoking for 9,000 years. Also, the undercover lover began sobbing heavily as one of the attendants of the party was none other than an illuminator of the Northwestern Medical School. Tonight was the lover's only chance of impressing him when they ended up being a clown. He will never get to go to the Northwestern now. So, it was his fault in the first place for jumping into the tub of wine Wine crisps and packets, am I right? I don't answer that because I'm not always right. I handed Brenton his barrier back and then bartender back as the screen then transitioned to a show past pickled, telling big past Shock about that she was no longer loving him. Pickle then turned around to see an actual pickled onion, as President Day of Big Shock said, I tell them, babe, it's man's hot. With that said, Big Shock then was shown alone in his room again. This, of course, was when the ghost of the Christmas present showed up. Thankfully, it was normal, and it didn't play it by something else. The ghost of the Christmas present made Shock their way down to the streets. The ghost of the Christmas present then sang It Feels Like Christmas as normal. Finally, things seemed to be going back on as normal, and that's when the ghost thought Shock was to see how Kermit and his family celebrated Christmas. Once inside the house, Miss Piggy was then shown cooking something in the fireplace. It didn't look right. I know that because it looked identically, but of course it wasn't a Christmas goose, I'll tell you that much. Miss Piggy then stopped cooking, and as Kermit and Robin appeared on the screen, the goose, Robin proclaimed as he made his way towards the kitchen, which had the goose sitting on top of it. Kermit then proceeds to throw Robin into the floor and then yelled, Wait till you're sitting on the table, you little bullocks. Kermit then proceeded to make himself a cup of tea. As he drank the tea down and sighed heavily before saying, Damn, this tea is dough. Robin eventually started coughing into a nearby McDonald's and had a brand tissue and no one said they did nothing to help him. The sick people that did it. This was actually Shock and the ghost of Christmas presents parted ways. Now this was sad and of course heartfelt moment in the actual film. Instead of being replaced by the ghost getting gunned down with some gangsters, Big Shock didn't seem to mind that, as this was a big cloud of smoke. The smoke eventually parted way through Big Shock into the face of what comes to be his final visitor. The ghost of Christmas yet to come. He still looked around to make sure he would have done it as well, and thank goodness for that. Big Shock the Christmas of ghost of Christmas yet to come arrived into the street, a small street corner, where they saw pigs talking about how the man just died. It's likely to be very cheap funeral, but I can't imagine the soul who would get that, one of the pigs joked. Well, I wouldn't mind this going. Then one of the other pigs had his friends cried, Wait, if the lunch is provided, the pig then laughed. However, none of the other piggies barren to laugh at the joke. No, instead, they all just stared at him awkwardly for about 20 minutes. I can't believe me, I checked the watch. Big Shock was then shown into some weird monster hybrid Muppet selling his stuff, and the street peddler named Joe. Oh, Miss Duper, these are still warm, Joe proclaimed happily as he began rubbing his grubby face over Shock's McDonald's brand tissues. Yo, ghost, show me something uplifting and ting, Shock said as the ghost then took him to see Kermit's house once again. Big Shock made his way over to the living room now and peered in. Kermit and his family were being shown at lazily having a thing to finish their Christmas dinner. Miss Piggy then turned on his face to Kermit and said, I'm so glad Teeny Tim is dead, right, Bob? Kermit then told his trademark for a nod for a good 9,000 hours. Once again, believe me, I checked my watch. With Tiny Tim dead, we could finally afford that bowling ball alley in his bedroom, Kermit explained, as the screen then cut to show Robin's chair, which of course was weird because with the weird bee bear sitting on it. Big Shock and the ghost of Christmas yet to come then arrived at the graveyard, where Shock made his way towards the tombstone. He wiped out the snow covering his stone and cried, I can't read, and then he ran up to the ghost and asked, What does it, bruh, say you can't read? Those graves just give you a thing? The ghost then took off his hood to reveal its true form. It was none other than Big Pete, who seemed to know quite well what he took himself over the Christmas tree and got burnt down. Why are yours, Big Shock? Big Pete proclaimed happily as he pushed Big Shock into a hole and lay underneath the tombstone. The richest rapper in the cemetery. Pete laughed heavily as Big Shock began to falling towards the empty casket. He then felt somewhat all the time screaming for the Big Pete to get him to stop with a bag of chips. Big Shock then woke up in his living room alive, and then he looked out the window and sighed deeply happily. He made his way to Kermit's house, accompanied by his Muppet bits to encourage him. Arriving at his house, Big Shock knocked on the door 60 times before Kermit finally showed up to answer. "Can I come in, rude boy?" Shock asked as he made his way into the house. That was before Kermit could give him an answer. Big Shock then proceeded to sit down at the table on the other Muppets as Miss Piggy placed the Christmas feast onto the table. It wasn't a Christmas turkey. It wasn't even a goose. It was a frog. Kermit and his family were cannibals. Of course, that was just one frog either. It was a large banquet of little bird buggers. Shock then picked one up and shoved one in his mouth and said, "Tastes like Ironsides." Everyone all laughed at the joke and they made no sense. Everyone then began tucking into Kermit and his family into dinner. Meanwhile, Gonzo was shown being fishing at telling Rizzo the story and asked, "And Tiny Tim? Oh my, Tiny Tim, who died?" "Well, it wasn't that swell," Rizzo proclaimed happily as the film then ended with no credits. "My Xbox 360 then blew up. I guess it couldn't handle the disaster of a motion picture." "Well, can you really blame it, really?" I was heartbroken, but Brenton didn't seem to mind. In fact, he was smirking a wicked smirk. "What are you smirking about?" I asked cautiously as Brenton responded with, "Oh no, you need to see the mayor really needs us terribly." "What are you talking about?" I asked. "Just follow my lead," Brenton said as we made our way outside to the streets. On our way down the road, we got interrupted by an incredibly fat charity collector from earlier. His silent friend was not there anymore as the collector had eaten him along with he was very fat after all. "Merry Christmas, sir," Brenton proclaimed happily as he continued with, "About the donation you asked me yesterday, put it down for nothing." The collector absolutely was mad and asked, "My dear Brenton, that much?" Then we proceeded to push the collector out of the way and made our way towards the mayor's mansion. Arriving at the mansion, we stood up in the front of the doorsteps, beginning to sing Christmas carols above our heart's content. The mayor answered the door and seemed bizarrely out of character. He was incredibly happy. Then the mayor said, "George and Brenton, would you two like to join me for a lovely Christmas dinner on this fine Christmas morning?" "Not really," I said. "I was forced into the house later by Boyce. We even had ourselves a lovely banquet of Christmas dinner. It was so much food, I asked one of the mayor's friends if I could take it home with me in a doggy bag." "No, you can't," the friend then began laughing hysterically. "I wanted to punch that person right in the hook nose. Apparently we had been watching that DVD longer than we thought we would have done." Last night it was Christmas Eve, and Big Shock, the mayor was then visited by three ghosts, and of course the three ghosts told Mayor to pack it up and stop being such a douche. The words of those three ghosts had changed in the mayor's view on caroling. He had Honest John and Gideon assassinated, which of course made into a suit by Boyce, and he also was given a small loan of £1,000,000 over the collector. Isn't that swell? Well, not everyone seems to care about the money now to charity, so just make themselves look good. Sadly, the mayor ended up relapsing his old ways, and his house had been blown up by Boyce. Of course, why the mayor had not gone back to his evil Christmas hating so suddenly? Well, I'm not entirely sure, to be honest with you. I think the mayor realized that being a nice guy doesn't pay about something on TV. Well, that pays, wink. With the house gone, I now live inside the packet of Walker's extra crunchy crisps. I'm still caroling even to this day. Even carol not after long, Christmas had been gone. I just wanted a crust of bread. Maybe just a crust of bread. Brenton, meanwhile, has moved to California to start a band called the Pope Boys, so perhaps society is to blame. If you are wondering, I am now able to write this down. I held on to my laptop as I was given a choice by the mayor before he blew up my house. Lose my house or lose my laptop. I easily made the right decision. I mean, no laptop? It's not like I just go Argos and buy a new one, is that it? Anyways, I'm getting pretty tired. Well, I'll end it here. Just remember, the people who do archive redemption are always prone to relapsing into their own habits. Don't believe me? Ask the dishes. If so, you'll see a caroler sing on your doorstep. Throw a brick at him or her and tell him or her that they need to move on to Hollywood, where Muriel plays the piano, if they still can. If you do all that, then maybe, just maybe, we can have peace. Oh man, that was awesome, Matthew Bumford. This story was honestly, it was so funny. I could definitely say that now. Okay. And that, my little pretties, was the Muppet Christmas Carol bootleg version. A Muppet Christmas Carol funny pasta written by Matthew Bumford. Matthew Bumford, I want to thank you so much for the story. Now, I'm going to say right here, right now, that I love this episode. This episode was actually pretty good. Even though it's a funny pasta, I say, but it was just hilarious. I actually held in my laugh when I'm narrating these funny pastas because, most times I do tend to just laugh or stifle a few, but I'm getting a lot better on that. But I'm going to say here right now is that I have not seen the Muppets in like a long time. Like I think the last time they had a movie was probably 2015 or something like that. But here's to say, I really hope they do make another Muppet movie or something because I would really like to see more Muppet movies. Like they haven't released a new one in like so long. That's kind of, obvious, to be honest. But, I'm just going to be completely honest right here, right now, that this story was actually pretty good. The grammar was good, the sentence structure was good, the paragraph structure was good. Even the storyline of how the episode went out was just flat out amazing. I could definitely say there was definitely a lot of time and effort into the story. And that's a really good positive that I do have to say. Now, I don't believe I have anything bad about the story that I didn't like, but the characters, all that, it was hilarious, man. I could definitely say there's a lot of time and effort into the story, so that I can definitely say there was definitely time and effort into the story, which is a very good thing. And here's the thing. I have not seen Muppet Christmas Carol in like forever, so I'm gonna have to take a look at it, one day. I'm gonna have to, take a look at the movie for the first time in years, but I honestly have to say it was really good. But I can definitely say, is there anything negative that I do have to say? No. I honestly don't have anything bad to say about the story. Its story time was actually really good. And I could definitely say this has a good storyline. Now, despite that I have not seen the Muppet Christmas Carol in so long, I'm gonna have to rewatch this movie whenever I get a chance. Because, this was actually really well made. I really liked the concept itself to be rather good. The grammar was good. The storyline of how the episode went out was just amazing. I do appreciate the good grammar and all that. And the flow of the story of how it worked out was just absolutely amazing. And this amazes me that, Matthew Bumford, I have to say, you do a really awesome job with these stories, and I really hope you do continue to make more, and I encourage you to make more stories like this, as this story was just flat out amazing, and I can definitely say there was definitely time and effort into the story. So that could be something right here that I could definitely say that the story itself was actually really good. Now, I think I'm going to wrap up this review because I'm going to try to keep the review as short as I can because I could definitely say this story was pretty long, so I'm going to keep it short as possible. But other than that, this story was absolutely amazing, and especially it was pretty good. There was definitely a lot of time and effort into it, so I can definitely say there's a lot of good time and effort into the story. I actually liked it. And I really do feel that this episode could be, I could actually see, Muppets doing something like this, and I can understand why they wouldn't do anything like this, but I can understand, some Muppet movies have gotten dark. Like, I know there was a few Muppet movies that do tend to go dark every now and then. Like, I do know that. Even Sesame Street has gotten, dark every now and then as well, so I could definitely say I'm going to have to rewatch this movie in Christmas time because apparently I haven't seen that movie in years. And I haven't watched Muppets in years, so this is actually going to make me want to go watch the Muppets again, even though I haven't seen that in years. But I can definitely say there's definitely time and effort into it, and this story was actually really amazing. And although it's a funny pasta, I understand that some funny pastas don't tend to make a whole lot of sense, but this story actually did pretty good. I can definitely guarantee you guys right now. This is on Goshia Wiki. For any of you guys who want to know where it is, it's on Goshia for those who want to know. But anyways, I'm going to wrap up this review. And this review has gone as long as it normally would be. But let me wrap it up quickly because, I want to make the review as short as I can with longer stories. But anyways, let me get started. Like I'm going to say right now, this is simply my own personal opinion, and if you disagree with me, that's fine too. We're all entitled to our own opinions regards to these funny pastas, and this is simply my own personal thoughts. My final rating of this story would have to be a 10 out of 10. It's a great story. It's a great funny pasta. There was definitely time and effort into it. I remembered seeing this as a kid. I honestly have to say that this movie was actually really good, and I really want to go, basically re-narrate this story. Well, not re-narrate the story, but like rewatch the movie. Because I obviously have to say the movie was actually pretty good. And, I haven't seen this movie in a long time, so I'm going to have to consider, making another one. Well, watching it again. But anyways, this movie was actually pretty good. There was definitely a lot of time and effort into it. And I could definitely say there's definitely a lot of effort into the story. Anyways, what did you all think about this, what do you think about this creepypasta or funny pasta? You all enjoy it? Did you not? Also, what we have done personally to help make this story a lot better. Leave me now your thoughts down in the comment section down below. I'm the Queen of Lions. Thank you so much for watching today's episode. If you're brand new here to this channel, be sure you like, comment, subscribe because I make brand new videos every single day. Don't forget to ring the notification bell to when I upload so you guys won't miss an upload or anything else. So, and as always, please roll the outro because I'm out of here, and I will be seeing you all in the next video. Peace out.